looks amazing, isn't it? It's such a beautiful little corner of the Algarve. I can't believe that I haven't actually videoed this before, but this is Ferragudo, and it's a gorgeous little corner of the Algarve. While we're here, let's just quickly go around, zip around through all the beaches around here because it's stunning, and then we'll go through the location and the history and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but my name's Nick. I've been here for 21 years in the Algarve, and I just love living here. So welcome to my channel if you haven't been here before, and welcome back if you have been here before. All right, let's take a look at Ferragudo's beaches. So we're zooming into Ferragudo, and we're heading all the way down. It's just on the banks of the river Rad. And you see there's a ton of beaches around here. Let's start with Praia de Angrina, which is right next to Ferragudo. And that actually means Angry Beach. So it's something to do with anger. Big beach just a little bit further over, Praia Grande. And then Praia de Infanta, which means infant beach. Let's hope it's just because it's a very, very small beach, and it's actually very difficult to get there. It's impossible to get there without a boat. Okay. Praia do Molho is because of the mole. That's exactly why it's named that. And then Pintadinho, just a little bit over, they've got a fantastic restaurant there, and you can relax and enjoy. Now, this is still very calm beaches. Heading over to the other side of the point, we're getting a little bit wilder. Praia de Turada, or Turado, actually, which is also a little secret beach at high tide. You can't really get around unless you swim, so prepare yourself for naked people over there occasionally. And then heading down to one of the most beautiful beaches in the Algarve, Praia dos Caneiros, and that means that's coming from cane or reeds. So a lot of people thought it was because of sheep, which are carneiros, but this is caneiros, which are reeds or cane. And heading a little bit further east, Praia de Aforrada is also impossible to get to unless you're going by boat or by paddleboard or something, and that actually means perforated. So it must be something to do with the surf or something, because it could get quite wild in winter. And then the last beach in Ferragudo is Praia do Mato. So that is all the beaches in Ferragudo, and it's a beautiful little corner of the world, you've got to admit. So where exactly is Ferragudo? Well, it's basically 70 kilometers west of Faro Airport, just over the river from Portimao. And you can get there on the 125, which is the main road, or you can get there on the highway, which is the 822. You can take a train from Faro west all the way to Lagoa or to Estumbar, actually, and then you can get off there and then take an Uber or something, or a taxi down to Ferragudo. You can also take it right into Portimao and get an Uber from there, whatever's easier. So quick stats, there are just shy of 2,000 people living here in Ferragudo, so it's pretty small, and you actually can see the whole thing in a day. However, it's a great place to live, being in close proximity to the city of Portimao without actually being in it. Now, the name Ferragudo could have come from many stories. However, what appears to be the one that has gained the most traction is that on Praia Angrina there used to be a machine that pulled the fishing boats up out of the water and onto the sand. This machine was made of iron and was fairly angular. Ferro, meaning iron, and agudo, meaning acute, pointy, or sharp, gives you Ferro Agudo, which has become Ferragudo. There are also theories about borrowing the name from Ferragudo in Villa Viçosa in the north. There's also one about a Spanish nobleman with a similar name, and there are some other stories as well, but this is the main story. Naturally, all the ancient sailing travelers were attracted, like, the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians and, the Greeks and the Romans, they were all attracted to the area as it provided protection from storms. And in the 14th century, fishermen started to settle here permanently. In 1520, Queen Leonor realized that Ferragudo had potential and offered the crown's protection to the locals. As there were quite a few marauding pirates and privateers about, a watchtower was constructed, and I think a wall was constructed a little bit later, and this eventually led to the Fort of São João do Rad, which is a fascinating castle built on rocks overlooking the Rad River. Sadly, it's closed to the public today. There's a long history of it, and being open and closed and whatever, and being changing hands, but it's actually privately owned at the moment. So it's closed to the public. The fishing, and in the 20th century, the canning of fish, was the main economic driver for the village of Ferragudo. Sadly, that collapsed in the latter half of the 20th century, and Ferragudo turned its focus to tourism, which it depends on heavily to this day. Ferragudo became a fully fledged town in 1999, so it's on the up. Okay, so if you're living here in Ferragudo, then you've got to check out the shops, because obviously it's important to be able to exist. Now, there's a whole bunch of shops in Portimao. Just look at all these guys. They're only 10 minutes drive away. So you just whip across the bridge and you're there in about 10 minutes. You can go across this bridge or you can go across that bridge. Or indeed, if you really wanted to, you could go across the A22 bridge, but that's not going to be the most efficient way of going. And then also, like 10 minutes to the east, you can head off to the shops in Lagoa. So they've got Auchan, which is Jumbo, Pingados, Apollonia, Intermarché, and these are only like 10 minutes drive away. So, and in Ferragudo itself, you don't really have any grocery stores and things like that. I mean, you do have small mini mercados and things like that, where you can buy all your local fruit and bread and milk and all that kind of stuff. And there's lots of other little shops around, but not much in the way of big shopping centres, but they really are close by. Now, schools are quite important for many people, and the closest international school is probably the Nobel, which is only 15 minutes drive away. So it's just a little bit further east towards the other side of Lagoa. It's 15 minutes drive away, but if you want normal Portuguese schools, they're in and around Ferragudo and also in and around Portimao, and you'll get... If you are living there, you will get told exactly which school you go to, and it'll be the closest one. Okay, and as far as medical goes, you just hop over the river to Portimao and down Algarve. There's lots of private medical around. There's also a Centre de Saúde everywhere. So it's very, very easy for you to get medical access, but I would suggest that you go with private medical if you're coming from the US. And please have a look in the description. There's a link to a map that I've put of all the hospitals, all the private hospitals in the Algarve, so you can get an idea of where to locate based on hospitals if that's a requirement for you. So as I strolled around Ferragudo looking at all these beautiful houses, and I just got to thinking, well, how much are these things? So I did a little bit of a survey, just jumped onto Idealista, and I looked basically at some of the house basically divided into two, apartments and houses. So if you look at took some random towns, Vilamora, Lagos, Ferragudo and Olhão, and looked at the price of apartments. In Vilamora, they're like 3,842 euros per square meter. In Lagos, they're 3,319 euros per square meter. And in Ferragudo, it's 2,800 euros per square meter. Olhão, 2,433. So it's quite interesting to see that. And then you look at houses. It's a similar kind of ranking, with Vilamora most expensive, Lagos, and then Ferragudo, and then Olhão. So obviously these are just random averages taken from Idealista in the end of January 2022. So things will change from week to week. Yeah, I met with Guy. We jumped into a little coffee, who's been following me for quite a while. So I just bumped into Guy over here.
G'day.
Have you been following me for a while?
I have, yeah. First video was that famous one about where to live in the Algarve, or introducing everyone to the Algarve.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Yeah, so Guy lives in Ferragudo, so we thought we'd come along and have a bit of a coffee, which is really cool. So yeah, thanks for looking me up.
No worries.
Based on Guy's recommendation, I headed over for a quick haircut. And it was great. I always love going to have haircuts in different places. Well, that felt pretty smart. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me in Ferragudo. I really appreciate it. And if you need any help or anything like that in relocating to the Algarve, sign up for my free email list on www.algarveaddicts.com, and I'll send you a series of welcome emails all about how to relocate to the Algarve. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time. algarveaddicts.com